Yo, what's poppin', all my peeps? It is I, your host with the most renaissance man who always thinks he can, and double champ of the peeps, Patty Pitts, here for the Raw Rewind, a special edition segment of the Pitts and Sarah's Wrestling Show. And of course, you can't have Pitts and Sarah's Wrestling Show without the best of the West. You cannot forget about Sarah Marshall. What's poppin', girl? How we doing?
I am fired up.
You're
That's
fired
how
up.
I'm feeling.
We're feeling fiery with our red on. We got our nice new background. We even upgraded our Titantron, as you can see. So, maybe it's time for the other brand to do so. And
I'm
as the
also
New Day are on our screen, or at least my screen.
all right. Well, I need to see Pretty Deadly, and that's all I need.
Oh,
So
yep. Well,
it's
they just popped up. So
oh my
there you
gosh,
go.
are they coming out to
They
their
are.
entrance? Oh my god.
They're wearing like ripped shirts. I think what's the one you sent me today? What's his name?
I sent you both. So
What's
the
the
blonde or
blonde
the
one?
brunette? Huh?
Blonde.
That's Elton.
Elton, yeah. He's got like a turtleneck type of thing with like a ripped up here. And then the other one, Kit.
Kit. Yeah.
I like the name Kit. Very
Kit
English
Wilson.
name.
Elton Prince. That's not an epic name to you?
Elton Prince is sick, but anytime Kit is thrown in the mix and it's a British guy, it's like
and
it's
they're
like
neon pink and
an
neon
Irish
yellow.
guy named Podrick.
Okay.
That's Patrick in Gaelic for
Okay.
anyone who needs to be cultured by the champ.
Alright.
So yeah. What's poppin', David? How we doing? But yeah, we're not here to talk about NXT because we already talked about the only thing Sarah cares about.
That is true.
We're here to talk about the flagship program of WWE, Raw, and it was a good show. Initial thoughts, it was a good show. And it was one of those shows where I thought it was going slow, but I wasn't mad about it. I was just waiting for stuff. I think that was a good way to put it. It's not waiting to or wanting it to be over. It's waiting for certain things to happen.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt. Like it was another time where the main event was happening and I was like, wait a second, it's main event time already? Like I was looking at the clock like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was another one of those nights for me. So yeah, but jumping right into Raw, speaking of the beginning of Raw, the Usos start the show, but this time they were not creating chaos. They actually came out with the proper entrance. They
Good for
came out
them.
with the best member of the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa. But I say that every single week. So they were talking about how they run the locker room and how they've been beating everybody up. They say that Solo is going to beat the living crap out of Mustafa Ali later, which I kind of feel like I don't think that you needed to tell us that. We probably already knew. They said that Kevin Owens better have learned his lesson for crossing the tribal chief after they beat him up last week. And they said that they have something huge planned for Raw 30 next week. And with that, they announced that every generation of the bloodline will be there for the acknowledgement ceremony. And we were just reading that basically everyone is expected to be there.
It's like everybody.
Yeah, like
awesome.
all of the uncles and Roman's daddy and The Rock is still a
daddy.
Roman's daddy. And
Daddy
then,
Oos.
Daddy. And then I'll tell you something about that later. Anyway,
Daddy
and
Oos?
then The Rock is speculated, but that's just because technically he's part of the bloodline. But if they really are going to be trying to go forward with the potential Rock Roman matchup at Mania, he might be there, and this could be the initial setup, possibly. We shall see. Maybe he'll show up and be like, "Hey, I'm here to acknowledge you, except I'm the tribal chief," and then chaos ensues.
That's inevitable. Is that we're gonna have The Rock come in and say, "I'm the real tribal chief. I'm the real pioneer who paved the way for guys like you to even be in this position." And that's where I have a prediction. Okay, I have a prediction that.
So your prediction is that he is showing up, first of all.
Absolutely. And my other prediction, which this might not happen on Raw 30, but it will happen within the Raw Roman feud, is
Okay.
Solo is going to be a piece. He's just going to be a chess piece in this whole thing where he was sent by The Rock, and they're going
Okay.
to make a callback where Roman asks, "Why'd you do it?" or something, and he's going to respond because Solo doesn't talk much. He's going to say, "I did it for The Rock," and then we'll have like Twitter's going to explode. I'm going to go bananas. It's going to be great. And if they don't do it, well, I'm going to do it in the NWF.
Okay, because I'm still like all in on Sammy winning the championships at Mania and turning on the bloodline. But I feel like that's a much more interesting storyline.
Who said that both couldn't happen?
That can't happen. How can Roman have a title match against The Rock and a title match against Sami Zayn? What
if Roman lost?
You
What if
want
Roman lost
Roman
the titles
to lose
beforehand?
to The Rock?
What if Roman lost the titles beforehand, and it was The Rock Roman at Mania and Sammy versus Jay or somebody else at Mania?
Yeah, but that's not what I want. That's not what I want.
Okay,
I want Sammy versus
I just created
Roman.
great booking there, but
Yeah,
yes.
So did I.
Okay.
Anyway, so as they're talking, the Judgment Day comes out. They do their album cover on the entrance ramp. We love it. Ex-Con Dom comes out.
Dom.
So they say that excuse me, you need to take a back seat. We run Raw. Finn refers to Dominic as an ex-con, which we love it. The Usos laugh just like the rest of us did. Finn then thanks Dominic for stepping up in his place when he got hurt last week and to finish the match to make sure that they were the number one contenders for the Raw tag team titles. I'm assuming the Raw. Maybe it's both. I don't know. They kind of made it seem like they were only going for the Raw ones.
No, it's Raw. This is why I haven't. Yes, you.
Yeah. So okay.
Like
so that's because they were like, oh, those Raw tag team titles are gonna look great being back on Raw. Blah blah blah. So I was like, oh, okay. So we're splitting them, which I'm fine with because they need to do it. I mean, we've talked about this too. That USA specifically has allegedly expressed that they are exceedingly unhappy about the tag team titles being unified as well as the main, like the WWE and Universal titles being unified, because then they're almost never on Raw, which is where USA Network has Raw. So that's why they would express that. So I'm all for it. I think they were they SmackDown champions first, so technically it wouldn't break their streak.
Because
Okay, so there we go.
RK Bro.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so that makes sense. They're splitting that. It's the same thing as like what we're saying. Are you taking a photo?
It's my B-reel.
Okay.
I'm listening, but it's B-reel time.
Okay. So I think that's what's going to happen. Just like what we said was probably going to happen with Roman, that they'll split the titles, but they'll keep him as the Universal Champion, and the WWE title will be split off. So technically his streak of however many 500 and something days or whatever it is, 700 and something days will not be broken. Anyway.
Yeah, they're going to find every loophole for that.
Yeah. So as this whole thing continues, it seems like now I think that it was semi-confirmed that it seems like it's going to be Priest and Dominic versus the Usos. But what's really confusing is they're like, oh yeah, because like Finn's hurt, but then he was in the main event. So I'm like, I don't understand how Finn can't compete for the tag titles, but whatever. Dom then gets in the face of the Usos and they're just laughing at him because why wouldn't you? And they remind him that they beat him in his daddy. So like, what? We're not scared of you.
I like that reference. Yeah, I liked when they referenced that.
Yeah. And then Rhea steps in, and this is when I was popping. I was just like, girl, because she got into the face of Solo, and I was like, girl, do it. And Solo at first was like, no, I'm not going to do it because, like, she's a girl. And then he was all like, did all his, like, stuff. And then Mustafa Ali just, like, comes out of nowhere and just, like, jumps off the top rope. Like, what?
That was awesome. Like, that was the best way you could have possibly gone to commercial break, and they need to do more shit like that. That was incredible.
I was just like, what?
I was on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, no, I was really, I love that they're trying to kind of like test the waters with Rhea, like actually fighting with the men. I think that it might be their way of kind of seeing like how people respond to a potential reunion, I guess, or bringing back of intergender wrestling because it's been gone for so long. But that's what I was kind of liking, and I was like, whoa, they're really gonna have her step to solo of all of them. I was like, I was so here for it. I was so excited, and I was like, I love Rhea so much. Like, she's such a badass. So I really like that. I like the tease of it. It would be really cool if that eventually happens. But this, of course, leads into Ali versus Solo. It was a pretty good match as usual. The Usos start beating up Ali. Then Kevin Owens comes out and he starts being attacked and he goes after them. Solo wins with a Samoan spike. Owens then attacks Solo and clears the announcer's desk, but all of the fake security and the producers come out to break it up. And then that was that. So they're still making sure that Owens is doing double duty. He's on SmackDown and Raw, making sure that is fresh in our mind, making sure that he is, in fact, still feuding with the Bloodline leading up to the Royal Rumble. So, I mean, I think it was a pretty good opening, half hour or so.
It was a great opening segment. It was everything you could have wanted because you legit could not keep your eyes off the screen until Ali came in with a flying kick.
Well, and I was glad because they have been doing a lot of the same stuff the last couple of weeks with them starting off Raw and SmackDown. So this was nice that it was different, and it was nice that we saw the Judgment Day come out and address them because of them winning the tag team turmoil. So it was kind of nice to see like that dynamic there because we haven't seen that. So it was kind of cool, so that it was like not just a typical, okay, the Usos or the Bloodlines out there, and then Kevin Owens is out there, and it's like, okay, like as great as this is, like, can we see something different?
Oh yeah, no, it absolutely was different for sure.
And then we are graced once again with the Cody Rhodes vignette. Basically, it was just covering his rehab and all of the same stuff that we have seen. I feel like we need a viewer discretion because I don't like the surgery stuff. Like, I don't want to see his muscle. I don't want to see his skin cut open. It is so disgusting.
Yeah,
like, no, I don't.
We all want to see what's going on inside.
No, I always hated that back in the day when they would show that. Like, I remember vividly when Triple H blew his quad and they were like, look at this. And I was like, I don't know how old I was at the time. I want to say I was like 10 or something, but I probably was older. But I would just be like, oh God, like, it's just so gross,
I love seeing it. I don't know. I'm a guy, so I feel like anything like cool, like, I mean, like weird and gross and shit.
Yeah.
Like, I just am all interested. I want to know what's going on in there. It's so cool.
So anyway, so they do show that, which is, like I said, is basically the same things that we've been seeing over the last couple of weeks. And then Cody breaks the internet and announces that he will be returning at the Royal Rumble. And he keeps teasing on Twitter the number 3. He also posted it on Instagram with the vignette from last night. I am assuming he means what?
The 3.
Oh yeah. So I'm wondering, does that mean he's gonna be number 3? Like, is he gonna be entrant number 3? Like, what does the 3 mean? Because it's not 3. Royal Rumble's not 3 weeks away. It's not 3 days away.
Not 3 months away.
I was just trying to think of what is significant about the number 3, and the only thing that I could think of because he announced he was returning at the Royal Rumble was that he might be number 3.
I want your thoughts on this because I see a lot of people right now are saying, "Oh, the lure of surprise returns are over because they announced Cody returning," and I'm like, everyone's already speculating anyways. All right, like you're already like, yeah, well, he's going to, and so it's one of those things where in wrestling, the obvious just needs to be stated. Like, just it's okay to give the fans, like, slap them over the face with what they think they know, like it's okay to do that in circumstances. And Cody Rhodes' return at the Rumble, I mean, no one thought he was going to return sooner and definitely not later than the Rumble. So just give, like, I don't see the issue with it at all. If they announce, like, here's your thing, if you like the 3 thing, like him teasing 3, it's getting us talking like this and whatever. Now, if they announced when he was gonna be like his number, I'm pissed. Then that's where you go too much.
Yeah, him teasing it is like he's taking it into his own hands. We don't even know what it means either. It could mean
No, it could
something
be like,
completely
"This is my
like
3rd Rumble I've ever
yeah,
competed in." It might not be, but,
it's
like, you know
not.
what I
It's
mean?
not. But
It's
yeah.
not. I know it is, but
Yeah, no, I saw that on Twitter last night too, and I I get why people are upset just because I think, the way that he got injured and when he had to leave, it was like such a bummer for most people. Even if they weren't ever like a super big Cody fan or anything, it was like his return was so exciting that it was
oh,
kind of like,
yeah.
oh, whoa. So I
You knew
get
it
that
wasn't, yeah.
maybe they were hoping for a more exciting return, but I think this is what they wanted. We've been reading about that for weeks now, that they were going to announce his return, basically. And I kind of feel like if it wasn't announced that he was returning at the Rumble, all of us would be expecting it. Like you said, everyone would be like, okay, Cody's coming out at some point. And two, nothing can top his return last year at WrestleMania. Even though we basically all knew that it was happening, nothing could top that. So why try? Like this would be not that it's going to be quiet, but it would be like crickets basically compared to Mania. So why overhype it? It's not
Exactly.
like his first return. So, I mean, I understand if you're a big fan, you're like, oh man, I really wish that it would have been more of a surprise. I mean, I get it, but I feel like in this instance, it's fine. It's not somebody who's been gone for years and making their return the way it was at Mania.
Exactly, yeah.
So, I think if it was somebody different that maybe hasn't been around, then that would make more sense, like you said. But in this instance, I'm just like, it's whatever. Like,
It is
I,
whatever, yeah.
I I'm expecting it now. Now the excitement is, when is he going to be entering the Royal Rumble? How long is he going to be in there? Is he going to win? Is he not going to win? That's more of the excitement anyway. So
Yeah.
I'm still on the I don't want Cody Rhodes to win the Royal Rumble though. So
We want,
um
I'm on Team Gunther. Gunther's my pick.
but then this is the problem too, right? Like we were just talking about Mania. So it's like it really then dictates how Mania is going to be. So if Gunther, whatever, if his plans are really to face Brock Lesnar, which is what we've been saying, it makes no sense for him to win the Rumble.
Agreed.
So that's why it's like, okay, so if The Rock is supposed to face Roman at Mania, then does that mean The Rock is winning the Rumble, which would be complete bull, and I would be so against it. But then that would mean like, okay, so then if he doesn't win, but that's still the plan, then Roman has to drop the titles. But like, is it really fair for Roman to have such a historic run and then to drop it before Mania? Like, it's so confusing because then there's the 2 championships. So
Yeah.
it's like we're already talking about them splitting them. So at least the WWE championship would be available to SmackDown. So then I wonder if that means that a SmackDown person, I don't know. See, and that's the thing. So it's like a SmackDown person's going to win, assuming, which could
Where
be
are
Kevin
they?
Owens. Kevin Owens.
Think Kevin
And
Owens
that
will win the Rumble? That would be awesome.
he has the match.
You can
He
have a
has
match, lose, and win the Rumble.
Okay, but it's just not going to happen. But I'm just
All
saying
right.
like
Well,
it just is. What if it's Sammy? This is what I'm
Sammy
saying. What if we got Sammy
Uso winning
versus
the
Kevin
Rumble,
Owens at Mania for the title?
and Roman tries to get him to win it for the Bloodline, and he
Yeah, but then
says Batista birds, like when the contract signing thing, whatever.
uh-huh.
He goes birds to the Bloodline, and it's like KO. There was nothing
Yeah.
better than facing you all those years in the Indies. Like, cause at this point you can let's mention them, and then they main event WrestleMania.
I mean, I would be
And then
I don't
Roman,
know.
and because Roman's in this situation because of The Rock. And that's their match at Mania. And
It's
then
so
that's where it's not for a title. It's anyone can win, anything can happen. Who the fuck cares? And then you have Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens in the
okay, but
actual main event.
yeah, for the WWE title? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
And then
And
Roman
then
would still
Cody
be
Seth for
Universal Champion?
Universal. Well, make Sammy Universal, and then because Cody's gotta be WWE.
I
So you would
know,
have
but he's not on SmackDown. He's on Raw.
I know, but you could switch.
Well, they would have to change the color, wouldn't they? Because the leather
Oh,
is
you think
red.
new title designs are eminent.
But
I've read reports on that.
No, I know, and that's for the Universal title. I wish they would change the
Thank
name. I
God.
hate Universal title.
I hate the name of it. I think it's just
I hate it.
stupid.
The World Heavyweight, I mean, I understand why they might have wanted to get rid of it because obviously it made no sense
And
when
everyone has a World Heavyweight. You're not
well, and when Rey Mysterio was World Heavyweight Champion, it was like that makes no fucking sense.
go.
This guy is like $120. Like, stop it. But yeah, something better. I mean, I get why they did Universal because it's like he's, you know, it's the WWE universe. Like, I get it, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can't think of another name, so it's not like I'm sitting here like, oh, they should go with this. But
we'll think of one. All right. Well, David said that Brock lost title.
Yeah.
Someone has a great memory. Cheers.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I don't know. I feel like this is a whole topic that we could explore on a you know, different thing. Maybe we can go through like Rumble predictions or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But,
you know where you can do that, Sarah?
Here
on Pitts and Sarah's Wrestling Podcast on Apple and Spotify and wherever you get your podcast, and YouTube as well. We go live.
Yes.
On YouTube, on Sarah's
Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays.
Kevin Owens. There we go.
Anyway, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Love.
Oh, that's my
sister.
That's my
there
sister.
It is. We get some love from KO. Let's go.
Yeah, no, I know. Like he was coming out last night, you know, and I was watching at the dinner table on my iPad, and I was like, "Oh, your lover's coming out," and she just like immediately stopped so she can watch him come out.
He's the best.
Like, okay.
Like there's just Kevin Owens. Just I could
just we know
get a whole
you
podcast
guys,
episode about him.
You both have you just dedicate an entire hour to how much you both love Bray Wyatt and Kevin Owens. But
I went as Kevin Owens for Halloween one year when he was Intercontinental Champion and had that same title and KO shirt, shorts, everything. May have got roofied at that party. So next
okay. Anyway,
next topic of discussion.
All right. So then we see the Hurt Business, Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander versus the Street Profits. It was a good match as usual. The Street Profits are ridiculously over. It's so amazing to see. They're just so good. Awesome. I just like it was just another one of those nights where I'm seeing them in the ring and I'm just like, it's like incredible how good they are. And I mean, I think both of them are. I think Dawkins gets kind of like the short end of the stick where people don't really talk about him as much.
They don't, but I will.
Well, yeah, and he's incredible. But Montez is just like so charismatic and just like so all over the place. Like, I can't wait to see where their careers go. Like, whether it's together or separate. If it's kind of like a New Day thing where they don't really ever break up, but maybe Montez does his own like solo career stuff. But I would be all for it because I really hate when they split up tag teams and then one of them always like basically falls off the face of the planet, because it doesn't mean that they're not capable of being a star. It's just like there are people that are just better in tag teams, and it's not anything, there's nothing against them, it's not a knock on them, but it's like they're just more successful in a tag team environment. And so I would really hate for that to happen with the Street Profits, because people have been saying forever that Montez Ford is going to be a top guy at some point, and I agree, but I would hate for that to come at the cost of Angelo Dawkins being forgotten about.
No, and he won't be, because he's so underrated.
Good.
He's so good in the ring, and the moves that he does are very fundamental, but he puts his own flair to them. And
he's another one like Owens that's like a big dude, but he's doing flips and jumping over the top rope, like
sneaky high flyer.
Yeah, and it's like it's kind of against everything that you know about big men doing wrestling. Like they don't do these things. Big men slap and beat, doing flips, you know. So
flips.
Yeah, doing flips over the top rope. Yeah.
Shit.
So that's kind of like the cool thing about him too. So but I did want to ask you, how do you feel about what the direction is right now for the Street Profits? Because I feel right now we're kind of seeing them in these random tag team matches, which is great. Like, I'm glad that they're at least on TV, but I really want to see them have a proper feud. Like, I want to see them involved again in like better storylines, like, because they are both good on the mic. They're so good promos, backstage segments. Like, I want to see more of that, and not just them in the ring, but them actually have a feud. That doesn't have to be it for the titles, but it would be nice if the titles were split, which
that's where I think it's going. And that's where their success is going to come. Once the tag team title split, I mean, my prediction is next week at the Raw 30. Once those
Mm-hmm.
split, they're going to become champions either at Mania or right after it, and then they're going to have their own lengthy title run because they should have had it at SummerSlam. Honestly, um, SummerSlam was one of those pay-per-views where I legitimately thought that the Usos were going to lose. Like it
Was
was
it
one of
that?
those.
Was it SummerSlam or Clash at the Castle? The first time that they had a match was better.
Money in the Bank was their first one.
Okay. I
And
can't remember.
then
Yeah,
their
whichever
second
one was
one
their
is
first one was really good. The second one didn't live up to the first one, but that first one was so good.
the
Like
first
match of
one
the
was
year.
unbelievable, but the second one I thought because they got that bullshit win uh,
Yeah.
at Money in the Bank by they I mean the Usos. The
Yeah.
Usos got that bullshit win against them where his shoulder was clearly up. So I
Yeah.
thought they were going to tie into that, and then the Bloodline storyline was going to culminate within the few weeks there. Obviously kept going because of how over Sammy was and whatnot.
Mhm.
So they kind of got the short end of the stick after SummerSlam and then
Yeah.
injuries and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's a they if they were not as over as they are, then it would be a time where it's like, oh shit, okay, maybe they got to do something or we got to push them or whatnot. But there's no reason to. They're so
Yeah.
over. They have them be in the Rumble match and just hype up the Rumble, and
Mhm.
then just absolutely put on a show and be human highlight reels in the ring at the Rumble, and then just build them up for Mania for a tag team match. I
Yeah.
think that's a smart move to keep them in the mix, and then honestly just keep the backstage segments and have them in as much as possible.
You know what I think is great? This reminds me too is how well guys and girls that have been brought up from NXT at least under Triple H, how well they're still being utilized on the main roster.
Oh yeah,
Because that was such an issue with Vince, obviously. And that's why quite a few of them either walked out, Tony Storm, didn't re-sign their contracts because they didn't want to be on the main roster if Vince was running it, Adam Cole. And I don't blame them one bit, you know? So it is kind of cool to see like with the Street Profits, like that's not happening, or Damage Control, that's not happening. Just
yeah.
those for examples, but it makes me feel a little bit better for some of the people that we do like in NXT for when they do get called up, because there are some really great talented people down in NXT. Even though
Looking at a
even
couple right
though
now with Roxanne and Toxic Attraction.
well, NXT gets crapped on so bad. Like Freddie Prinze Jr. just shit on it so bad last week or the week before when he was talking about it, saying how awful it was. And we've been on here saying that it was awful. That was months ago when it was. It was
Was
just like, what
keyword
is
there.
going on?
Yes.
Yeah. But it seems like kind of like once Shawn Michaels kind of had full control over it and kind of figured out what he wanted to do and the direction he wanted to go in, maybe received a little bit more guidance
Yeah.
from Triple H or something, like it's gotten a lot better. Like there are certainly people in there that I'm just like, what is this? Like what kind of character is this? But
Yeah.
there are really talented people down there. So I'm excited that if they get brought up on the main roster at some point, that it's not just going to be a dead end.
Yeah,
So
it won't. Yeah, and that's why I have it on Tuesday nights. I don't watch it
I know I
obviously
need to put it on. I
as
think it's
closely as I do Raw, SmackDown, AEW. Because I'm a big sports guy as well. You got to balance. But I keep an eye out because there's a lot of good talent. I mean, you probably saw me do that earlier. Tyler Bate came on, and he was facing some guy, whatever. But then Gullis, are they called, or Gallus, or whatever that
uh,
tag team was that was suspended when they came over from NXT UK, and
mm-hmm.
they're hard hitters. Someone I like who is the biggest heel and most hated man in the locker room, but JD McDonough is incredible in the ring. So there's a lot of guys like that if they came up in the main roster and done right, they would get the pop they deserve. But it all depends on where you put them. It all
Yeah.
depends on what show they would be best on. And that's something interesting too now that you can do. And you're seeing with NXT is that, a tag team may be a great fit on Raw, but they would flop on SmackDown because there's just not enough time.
Yeah. Well, and now I'm just seeing that the Pretty Deadly gets to be in triple threat match for the NXT Tag Team Championships.
Yes,
I'm very excited.
boys.
I know they're not going to win, but it's still fun. By the way, my 4-year-old nephew is still saying yes, boy, like every day. So I am teaching him well.
That's a wrestling fan in the making right there.
Yes.
Love it.
Moving on. So this is when we finally get to a women's segment. Well, a women's segment. I think we had a women's match at this point, which we're not.
Yeah, we had
discussing
Meech
yet,
in
but
one. It was good. It did a job. I did like the Pixie.
Yes.
I love Candice LeRae.
Yeah. So obviously they're furthering that and trying to develop some sort of storyline there. But then we have Becky enters, which I was really confused at first because her music was playing and she wasn't there. I was so convinced. I even was saying it to my sister at the time. I was like, this is Bailey messing with us. Like, Bailey's messing with us. I thought it was going to be, they let her music hit and Bailey was going to come out. And then
that would have been great. That would have been really good.
I know, I was waiting for it. You know what the one that reminds me of, though? The worst one that tricked everybody was when CM Punk dressed up like Jeff Hardy and had everyone believing it was him until they like zoomed in on him as he was like doing his little dance on the turnbuckle, but like everyone thought it was Jeff. Anyway. So Becky comes out. She comes in through the crowd once again. She calls out Bailey. So enter Damage Control and Bailey. I thought that the Karen thing was kind of funny because Becky calling her Karen and Bailey's like, you forgot my name. Like, my name's not Karen. Like, I just thought
perfect heel move. That was great. And anyone who thought that she was being that dumb, you just lost. You lost the game.
It was just, I just thought that was funny. And then Bailey, they go back and forth. So Bailey's like, Becky, you don't even have friends. So Becky was like, you peaked in 2015. Bailey points out that that's the year that she ran NXT. And Becky is like, the rest of them stole her spotlight on the main roster, meaning Sasha, Charlotte, Becky, and Paige, maybe. Bailey's part of the 4 horsewomen, but maybe I think she's referring to the 3 of them. Becky then says, well, you were supposed to be staying there because you said you wanted to be a leader and a champion, but maybe that was just BS, which I wouldn't be surprised about, is what she said. And then she was like, well, Bailey, you weren't supposed to be the first woman to main event and win a match at WrestleMania. That was supposed to be me because I'm the hardest worker here, blah, blah, blah. Bailey then complains about her situation and says, Becky, you only became the man because you got punched in the face by another woman. Becky says, well, then you should punch me in the face. Damage Control steps up. Becky mocks them because look at you just standing behind your girls again. And then she challenges Bailey to a cage match at Raw 30 and Bailey accepts. I am excited.
That's going to be a really good match. I didn't get I remember her getting smacked by Nia Jax.
It was when she was broke her nose almost. Do you remember
she
that?
Broke her nose and she was bleeding.
Yeah. So, but Nia never hurt anybody. Remember, Nia said that she never.
She's not anybody. Like most girls, Sarah. All right?
I just love how she still wants to convince us that she never legitimately hurt anybody. I'm like, girl, that would be like, okay, whatever. Stop it. We don't like Nia. We don't talk about her.
Not like most girls.
What if she shows up at the Bloodline? Can you imagine?
What if she is she?
Well, she's part of the Bloodline, but I hope she's not there. I mean, maybe what if Tamina shows up?
That's my prediction. I think Tamina's
What if Naomi? What if Naomi? Anyway, she's not technically part of the Bloodline, but she's like, a member of the Bloodline.
Marriage is blood by contract,
I guess. Anyway, so I liked Bailey and Becky's back and forth. I'm really excited to see them in a steel cage match, and I'm really excited that it's a women's match happening on Raw 30 in a steel cage match. I think that is so awesome because it very easily could have been one of the men's, could have been the Judgment Day and Usos match or something. It could have very easily been something like that. So I love that the women are going to be featured in this type of match on Raw 30 because one would assume since it is such a monumental episode that there's going to be even more eyes on it. So I'm very excited. And it's going to be a good match because it's Bailey and Becky. I don't think that they've ever had a bad match together. Those are the 2
best women right now when it comes
severely
to
underrated, especially when it comes to the 4 horsewomen.
Probably the most underrated out of the 4.
That's what I'm saying. Because Charlotte is phenomenal. Sasha is great too. But I feel like Becky and Bailey don't get their flowers. But
I always thought Becky was the one that was shunned away, not Bailey. I always thought Becky got the short end of the stick.
I feel like it was at first, and that was just because I think Bailey was so over and so loved when she was in NXT with, the side ponytail and stuff like that. And I feel like Becky kind of didn't have that yet. I feel like once she kind of became the man is when it was a solidified, like, Becky is like at the top of her game type of moment, even if you felt like she was great beforehand. But Sasha and Charlotte had already been there, like Charlotte puts on phenomenal matches every single week. Sasha had great matches in NXT. Her last match in NXT, the Iron Woman match, was like, it's like
Incredible.
they didn't have anything else to prove at that point, where I feel like maybe Becky did, or people felt like she did.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
it took a while for her to be that. But her and Charlotte were besties. So
Yeah.
but not anymore.
No.
Charlotte's missing out. Anyway, so another backstage segment that normally I would just kind of like look past, but I feel like there's a little something interesting brewing here. So it was
Ooh.
Ziggler is backstage doing his, fake preparations for the match, because that's what they do in backstage segments. And then Mustafa Ali just shows up out of nowhere and is just like talking crap to him, being like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you didn't want to be in the tag team turmoil match. And now you're going to be in this 6-man challenge, blah, 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 blah." And Ziggler's just like, "I don't care, bro." And trying to like, it's like he was trying to like swat away a fly. That's like what it felt like. So this is now what, the second or third week in a row that we've had this little scenario happen backstage.
Bros out here just trying to be relevant.
Yeah, so I think it's cool to see Ali on TV, because he is really talented. I like cruiserweight wrestling too, and I'm bummed that the cruiserweight title and stuff like didn't last long, because I find it enjoyable to watch. But do you think they're gonna have a feud between these two at some point? Because it seems really random that this was happening and then it lead to nothing.
We may see something brew at the Rumble, and this just might be a seed that's planted. Maybe Staffy eliminates Ziggler, and then or vice versa, and then it's like, "You blew my shot. You're constantly blowing my shot at everything. We need to fight." And if that happens, then I mean, I would like it, because both of them in the ring are incredible.
So good.
So entertaining.
Like, I don't care what anyone says. Like, you don't have to be a fan of Dolph Ziggler, but if you really try to say anything about how this man performs in the ring or on the mic, you're ridiculous. Like, you don't know pro wrestling. Like, you don't even have to like him.
Underrated of all time.
Yeah, no, like severely. There's a reason why this man is like 40 something years old and still around. There's a reason. Like, it's not just because they think he's good looking or that he's like at the top of his game. He's literally just like floating around doing random things. He is good looking.
Kind of good looking.
But
I'm
yeah, he
jealous.
is. Yeah. But there's a reason, because he's so good at what he does. And it's a shame that it never really amounted to much more than it did, because oh my gosh, one of my favorite wrestling moments ever was his Money in the Bank cash-in on Alberto Del Rio.
That's like one of the greatest cash-ins of all time. If it wasn't for Seth Rollins, that would be the greatest cash-in of all time.
Yeah, that one was so good. Like, I could still watch it now and get goosebumps. Like, it was so good. But anyway, yeah, I'm assuming that's gonna lead to something, so we'll have to pay attention to that. Then we get the Alpha Academy versus Judgment Day, which I would say was good. Again, another solid match between the two teams, a good back and forth. And the biggest takeaway from this match is how hated the Judgment Day must be, because the Alpha Academy were over like they were John Cena. Like, it was so loud, and they were so loud for Otis, and I was just like, where is all this energy and love coming from? Because these guys are on Raw every single week. It is not this crazy for them.
Thank you.
Yeah. Shoosh.
Yeah. Shoosh, please.
I like the thank you.
Thank you.
It's like so stupid, but it's like so
it's
good.
Ridiculous. That's one of those things where something just stupid as that, it's gonna get everyone over. And it also helps that Chad Gable is fucking phenomenal. And you can put him against anyone. I mean, the man German suplex Braun Strowman.
Oh my God. What is so crazy to me too is thinking about where he started in WWE, right? Like, he was paired with is it Jason Jordan? Was that who?
Yeah, Kurt Angle's
Kurt Angle's kid.
Kurt Angle's son.
Do you remember Oh my god, that video of him on the last time Angle was on Raw, like a month ago or whatever, and he brings like a happy birthday dad card to him. Did you see that?
Yeah. Oh, that was the best.
Oh my god. I'm
That
just
was
like
awesome. That
I
was
I love to I would
yeah.
like to imagine that was
Good.
like Triple H kind of like taking a shot at such a ridiculous storyline that Vince came up with because it was just like so stupid, but it's like
It's so
whatever.
awesome.
But anyway, thinking about how that's where he started, and then like once that kind of disbanded, like it was assumed, I guess, that Gable was kind of like gonna do nothing because for a while he was. They were having him kind of be a jobber and just like showing up and doing random things, and then he like cut his hair and like beefed up a little bit, and then
Yeah.
started pairing with Otis after Otis was kind of floating around doing nothing after his
Well,
storyline with Mandy
yeah, he
fizzled.
got left by Mandy
And
Rose.
yeah,
Anyone would be
well,
down to come.
she went down to NXT. So,
Yeah,
but
she went back
anyway,
to
like
find herself.
yeah. So so anyway, so I think it's really cool that now he's kind of like at that status where what I would say is kind of like with the Miz. The Miz's status is like they've been around for a long time, but like whoever you put them against is going to look good in the ring and they help put them over. So it's like I feel like they're at that, like he's at that level now. Almost Otis is at that level now. Another guy that I would never expect to have been in WWE for years, honestly.
Otis?
Otis. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he has outlived his expiration date. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable how he just keeps getting over. And the Alpha Academy, it just makes sense for him. Like he fits that mold so nicely, that role as Chad Gable's enforcer, if you want to
Mhm.
call it. And
Yeah.
he doesn't need to say much, but the comic relief he does bring is it's so good.
It is good. So I like that pairing together, and Judgment Day wins, obviously. Nothing really was coming from this match anyway, but still pretty solid.
Nice match.
And then before getting on to some of my favorite moments of the show, I want to talk about the legends that are going to be on Raw 30 next week. So most of them I would say are expected. I feel like one of them is kind of not, but anyway, we'll go through. So far as I have seen, they have announced Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, which he just basically is going to come up from Tampa,
You're just
wherever
gonna
they are.
take off the headset.
Yeah. Road Dogg, they're like, you were fired, but you're back now. X-Pac, Jerry Lawler, Ric Flair, Farouk. I'm all for it. I'm all for Farouk. Kurt Angle, Teddy Long. Teddy Long does not scream Raw to me. Teddy Long is SmackDown for me. So that's why I'm like kind of confused because he was like the SmackDown GM. So I'm kind of like, I don't know why. But I mean, I guess we love Teddy Long. He always likes a tag team match.
We're gonna
So
get an 8-man tag.
yeah, or a 10-man tag. It's just gonna be like we're gonna
Or
see the
someone's gonna
first
go
ever.
one-on-one with the Undertaker.
It's gonna be a 20-man tag team match, 20 versus 20. We're gonna see something crazy that we've never seen before.
Teddy
And
Long would
then
explode at War Games.
the biggest legends of them all that everyone was stoked and could not believe that they had the time to show up for Raw 30 because they are so legendary. They needed to, it's like, oh my god, their schedules are so packed, I can't believe that they're going to be there. The Bella Twins, the most hyped legends to be on Raw, because when you think of women's wrestling and
Hall
the
of Famers.
legends, when you think of the legends of women's wrestling, you think of the Bella Twins.
Hall of Famers.
Mm-hmm. So, I have a lot to say about this. Like, part of
I'm
me is
going on
like,
you. I have nothing to say about the Bellas.
I have a lot to say, and I feel like I need to refrain from saying as much as I want to say. I even like was kind of beefing with two photo list people on Twitter about this last night. Because if you were under the delusion that the Bellas are the ones that started the women's revolution, I just want you to know that you're
that's
completely wrong. You're wrong.
You're wrong.
You're wrong. And like, remember when I had talked to you about how like the A&E show, the WWE Legends show, and the Bella Twins were featured in an episode on the first season, right? I told you about that, and I thought it was absolutely fucking ridiculous. The second season is starting soon, and guess the woman that they have as this season's legend?
Molly Holly.
No, China. And so that had me thinking, wow, when I think of women's wrestling, especially WWE, and I'm thinking about legends, I always think about China and the Bellas being in the same category. Don't
They both
you?
have black hair.
And also, that was something that people were saying to me on Twitter. I don't think that people realize that China is not in the Hall of Fame. She's in the Hall of Fame as DX. So if we're trying to say
you
that
gotta.
China, if that the Hall of Fame somehow solidifies you as a legend, I just want to remind people that Drew Carey and like David Arquette are in the celebrity wing of the Hall of
David
Fame.
Arquette is a former WCW champion.
Stop. But I'm just saying, like, China's not even in as a solo performer. So you're
Drew
telling me
Carey
that the
competed
Bellas,
in a Royal Rumble.
Just stop. Be serious for a moment. If you can be serious for a moment. let me be serious for a moment.
My bad, Miss Storm.
Yes. So, there's nothing that you can say to me that the Bellas deserve that more than China. You can't tell me that they're in the same category as Lita, Trish, China, Ivory. You can't even say they're the best of their generation. They're not. Like, if we're talking about the Divas era, they're not. They're not the best of their era. They're not even the best of the current era. You would not even put them above Charlotte, Paige, Becky, Sasha, Bailey. You wouldn't put them above them.
Alicia Fox. Would you put
Alicia Fox was fire, but she just never got a chance. That poor girl. But
Eve Torres too was really good.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're not better. Like Michelle McCool. Like I'm saying, they weren't Beth Phoenix. They weren't better than these girls. So, anyway, I need to stop. Like David already knows how much I don't like them. That's why he's laughing in the chat. So I'm just gonna stop myself. But anyway, I was just kind of disappointed that those were the only women that we were getting. Because again, if we're supposed to be thinking about Raw and thinking about specific legends, I don't think of the Bella Twins ever, but I definitely don't think about them when it comes to Raw.
Think Sunny could get out.
Stop it. Moving on. Bianca Belair and Alexa Bliss, their segment. So Bianca comes out. She was gone last week. She had like stitches in her chin because she got busted open on the steel steps after Alexa beat her up. Bianca says that no matter what, that she will face Alexa again and again and again and again, because as long as she can remain Raw Women's Champion, then it's all worth it. So Alexa says, she came out with a new song, basically the same entrance music, but like a darker twist to it. I still hate the lyrics. I still hate the singing, but I do like that they darkened it up a little bit. So it's not as like peppy and happy. Yeah. So
transition here. Yeah.
If that's what it's the end thing is going to be, then whatever, I guess. But I do like that they are like actively changing it. She says that Bianca fears her because she's unpredictable and nobody knows what she's going to do next. Basically, not even her, if we're being honest. She says that she will be entering the Rumble to get a shot at the title. Bianca cuts her off and is like, girl, are you going to try and go through 29 other girls to get a shot at my title, or do you want to have a title match with me at the Rumble? And then Alexa's like, I choose the match. I'll see you at the Rumble. Then they start fighting in the ring at ringside. They start going through the audience. Bianca did the meme where she popped up behind the ring at the barricade as Alexa was just like standing there selling her injury, which I was just like, this is so funny. Like someone gift this like right away.
Incredible.
I'm sure it is already. So there was lots of fighting between the two, with Bianca dominating for the most part. Then Alexa hits her DDT when Bianca gets distracted by Uncle Howdy appearing in a doorway with a blue light behind him. That's when Alexa hit the DDT onto the floor, and Alexa's just like staring at Uncle Howdy, and that's the end of that. So we finally have an official match between the two.
I loved how they brought Howdy from the crowd in a way, and they used just a doorway, because what that did was it gives Howdy the chance to just pop up anywhere there's a door. It doesn't have to be someone in the ring and he comes out. Like they could be in the locker room and you could just do a locker. Like you could, like, there's so many different avenues you can go down with this. And because it's still that ominous thing, we don't really know who Howdy is. Could Howdy be a figment of Alexa's imagination too, and then
That's what
you're
I've been
getting
saying.
kind of like supernatural, right? Like,
Yes. Well, this is what I liked, because at first it was like you couldn't really see who was in the doorway, until he was like, "Hey, hey," and then you were like, "Okay, it's Uncle Howdy,"
hey,
"Hey, hey," like just break through a wall. "Hey," I'd be like, "Get the fuck out of here, you weirdo." But anyway, I like that he was still kind of like a shadowy figure, like it was just his silhouette basically, so you couldn't even really like see if it was a real human, because it's just playing into my theory that I still love. That my theory is that he's not a real person, that it's just like, as I said on Twitter again when I was talking about it on Twitter as this was happening last night, that he's just kind of a representation of the evil that they are trying to fight. And it's the same thing with Alexa, because Alexa was trying to be a good girl and like she went to therapy and overcame this. And now she's going back to the dark side. And that's what Uncle Howdy represents to her. Not to mention his voice is Bray Wyatt. So at least it sounds like Bray Wyatt. So it's like, that's why
oh
it's kind of
yeah,
like even
yeah,
more confusing, right?
I heard that too.
But yeah, no, I'm really excited to see what happens at Rumble. I think they're going to have a fire match. I am really excited because we haven't seen that yet. I'm really excited that we're finally getting Alexa back to this and that she's being so involved because she's good in the ring as well. And I am excited to see the involvement or possible involvement of Bray and or Uncle Howdy in the match, or Alexa's involvement in Bray's match with LA Knight in the pitch black match. I'm very, very intrigued.
Me too. I'm very interested in how that unfolds.
Yeah,
So many different avenues that can go down.
I
So
know. And
many.
I'm really, I normally I would be like, oh, I hope they don't mess it up because, again, it's very hard to break out of the Vince McMahon mindset of how he ran things. So I kind of like that there's that unpredictability factor with Triple H because we haven't gotten used to it yet. And I kind of hope we don't ever get used to it. Like I hope it stays that way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do like that element of surprise where there are so many different avenues that they can go down with any storyline, but especially this one. And it's like we can't predict it. I like that. And I hope that it doesn't get messed up, but I can't really see how it would,
Fingers crossed. That's all we can do.
All right. Then we move on to the main event, which was the six-pack man challenge. I don't know, whatever they call it, which was Baron Corbin versus Bobby Lashley versus Dolph Ziggler versus Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins versus The Miz for the number one contendership. That's my new word. For the US title, which is the current WWE title, basically on Raw.
Basically.
And I do want to give a shout out to Mr. Austin Theory for changing up his wardrobe. So not only does he not have to worry about having a clean shirt because he doesn't wear one, but he debuted a new jacket. I didn't notice if there was two chain theory. I don't know.
I didn't either. I was
didn't
too
notice.
focused on the jacket.
Same. But good for him, sticking to what he believes is very heel like, which is shirtless with a jacket.
We're with you.
I guess so. So he sat at the commentary desk throughout the match, and I would say it was an entertaining match. I actually was like, usually these types of matches aren't my favorite because there's so much going on, and it can be kind of hard to like keep up with. But these are all guys that are good, minus Corbin, in the ring.
He's got JBL. He's got the god of wrestling right by his ringside.
I don't care. Right. These are all entertaining guys in the ring, so I thought that was good. And I felt the only part that I was disappointed about, so I have the elimination. So Rollins eliminates Miz, he then eliminates Ziggler, he then eliminates Balor, and then Lashley eliminates Corbin, and he wins with a spear on Rollins, so he becomes the number one contender. That was the only reason why I was a little bit bummed. I kind of wish that if it was, Lashley against Theory, it's whatever, I guess. Like, I just feel like that's a feud that's been going on for so long. It's just the same thing. Like if Rollins had won, I'd just be like, okay, are we still doing this? Like 3 months later, like we're still, but I wish that it kind of had come down to Lashley and somebody else instead of Lashley and Rollins.
I wanted Ziggler to win.
Well, it would have been cooler because I feel like it coming down to Lashley and Rollins is just very much what we probably would have thought, because they were the two that have been battling for the US title. So if Lashley was going to end up being the winner anyway, it would have been cool if it was him versus Ziggler or him versus Balor.
Do we not remember about Theory and Lashley? Or Ziggler and Theory, their feud?
I know. So that's what I'm saying.
And
Like,
that
it
was
would have
like
been,
way back. Now let's do a callback and get them to win the title.
yeah. So it would have just been cool to see something a little bit different, so it didn't feel so predictable, because having it down to those two is like, okay, like, looking at who was in the match, you assumed it was going to be one of them. So it just would have been kind of nice if it was somebody different.
Agreed.
But how do you feel about Lashley facing him for the title? Like, how do you feel about Lashley being the number one contender?
I want Lashley to annihilate him and then win the title because of the Hurt Business, and then the Hurt Business
Okay.
get back together, and then
Uh-huh.
Theory can go and do like his own thing. He can go to SmackDown even. I just don't think the US title in Theory makes sense right now, and it was a good way to launch his, we'll say, new development, new character, new persona.
Mhm.
I'm not. I would rather see it on Bobby Lashley and then make that like a big title, and then have him and Brock feud for it, honestly, or have Staffy come in and Mustafa Ali and try to good David versus Goliath type of battles, or let's do it within the Hurt Business, and you can get like Sheldon Benjamin and Cedric Alexander all fight for it, and then at the end of it they just become like I'd rather shit like that than like Seth Rollins be the champion, Theory be the champion, or honestly, why don't you have the Miz and his new guy Bronson Reed?
I don't think they're really a pair, though.
No. But it doesn't matter who it is. You can like
Oh.
1 week it's Bronson Reed, the next week it's another guy from NXT. Like that's how the Miz gets back the US title, because that's the only way he can defeat Lashley is by like bigger men
Oh.
by his side. And at the
Mhm.
same time, he's just he's mentoring the younger talent away. Or hear me out. What if when he's healthy, Johnny Gargano versus Lashley?
That sounds like good and bad at the same
Nah,
time,
it
because
could
he's
work. I'm
so
telling you.
tiny.
I know, but
He's such a tiny human.
Bobby Lashley ran Impact Wrestling for about 5 years, and
Mm.
he faced a lot of X Division guys and had banger matches. So
Is
I
it
think
not
him and Gargano would be.
what is insane is that he's like 50. Like, how, I just
Don't
this
get it.
man doesn't look any older than when he debuted
He
in
doesn't.
WWE.
He
And
doesn't.
I just think that's unfair.
You could tell me any age below 50, and I would say higher than
Yeah.
26, and I
Yeah.
would probably agree with you.
I'm jealous, but it is what it is. But anyway, so yeah, there's a lot of possibilities there. Is that match happening at Rumble? Did they say that was happening, or is it just like it's a
No,
match
it's at
that
Raw
will
30.
happen? Oh, at Raw 30. Okay. So there's, quite a bit to look forward to for next
Very
Raw.
stacked. We're
Then
gonna
I
have a
think that,
lot to talk about.
yeah, I know. I know it almost might have to be like a two-parter or
I know.
something, depending on
Or
how much goes over.
we might. Yeah, we'll have to think about that another
Yeah.
time. But I do want to give our crowd here, our fans, our peeps, some might say,
Mhm.
some recognition, because they did have some prediction for the Rumble
Mhm.
from Freddie. Freddie says Roma gets upset. Rock, I'm
Rock.
assuming on
Rick. Who
correct.
the Rick?
Rick Boogs, man,
Yeah.
doesn't show up next Monday, and at the Rumble he costs Rock to get eliminated.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not
He,
opposed to
he
that.
sends out the henchmen. He sends
There.
out the rest of the bloodline.
Oh, David also believes that The
Uh,
Rock might not show up to
mhm,
Hollywood. Save for the Rumble, which is why they spoiled. Oh,
since he was predicted. Okay. Well,
all right.
David will have to tell me if he like is in the know, because he knows this kind of stuff and he's obsessed with The Rock. That's his boy. So
Well, The Rock is the people's champ, the most electrifying man in all of sports entertainment.
alrighty.
I mean,
Okay.
hello. Gonna be the final five in the Rumble: Seth, Cody, Austin, Rock, and Solo. Show that to someone in the early 2000s, and they'll think Austin, Rock are two different people.
No, that's what I thought when I first read his comment. I was like, is he really saying Stone Cold is just going to show up? And I was like,
What if
but
that's
no,
what Stone Cold's been training for this entire time?
no,
He is Mr. Royal Rumble.
We're in 2023. Okay.
He is Mr. Royal Rumble. I'm just gonna say that.
I know, but
and yeah, that's all we got for those predictions. And that's Raw. That's our Raw rewind. Let us know what you did already, and we thank you for that. But also let us know what you think by following us and tweeting at us on Twitter at Pat_Pitts and at SMarshXO for Sarah. Instagram at Pitsy35. And then Sarah, you're different than Twitter, right?
Yes, I'm Smarsh_.
Okay.
I have it all in the description boxes of the YouTube videos.
So go check out those description boxes and check out our stuff, the podcast, which we will be coming out with a new episode this Thursday. I don't know what we're talking about yet, but that's the excitement of it. It's going to be a great show regardless. And you can find that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasting. And then obviously the tube of you, Sarah's YouTube channel. Go subscribe to that right now. Sara Marshall XO, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So go follow that and subscribe because we got a lot of videos. All right. Say you like this stuff. Yeah. No, you talk. I've been talking.
So I have them in 2 playlists now. So I have a playlist for all of our past live streams, and then we also clip our, I guess, best talking moments from every live show. So that way, if you really don't feel like sitting there and watching an hour-long show, because sometimes you don't have the time to, go through and just look at what the topics were of that show and pick the clip. It'll probably be a max of like 10-15 minutes is our longest one. Most of them are under 5. So
yeah, dream matches went a little long.
Yeah.
But that's because
Bray Wyatt went a little long.
Yeah, Bray Wyatt. Anytime I talk about him,
Yeah,
that's crazy. So go check that out. Support us. Be a peep. Send a peep. Have a all right. And that does it for us. We'll be back on Thursday for the pod. And until then, thanks guys for tuning in. God bless. Remember that you can do it. All you gotta do is try. See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.